So you want to do a low magic campaign or story, but it still has to feel magical. So how do you do that? Well, forget dazzling displays of arcane energy. In low magic worlds, the true power lies in subtle changes, glimpses of the uncanny, and that haunting sense that something extraordinary lurks just beyond the veil. In fact, if you get it right, low magic settings can feel even more mystical and otherworldly than settings where magic is commonplace. But you have to be willing to lean into the mystery and mood, not the mechanics. For GMs raised on D&D or writers whose favourite books have highly structured magic systems, this could be tough. But don't worry, I'm here to help. Hi, I'm Janet from World Anvil. I'm a professional world-building consultant and a published game writer and fantasy author. I've got 6 tips for filling your low magic world with wonder and enchantment without using world-breaking sorcery or everyday spells that make your magic feel mundane. And we're going to start with mysteries. Because nothing is more spellbinding, not even actual spells, than a mystery. Obscure the true nature and trappings of your magic, and it'll feel 10 times more special. You can also shroud your magic in ritual, and the Bene Gesserits from Dune are a great example of this. Imagine if, instead of their cryptic speech and mysterious robes, the Bene Gesserits in Dune spoke like news presenters and wore jeans. However astonishing their actual power, they wouldn't seem very magical. It's the ritual imbued in their costumes, their poetic language, and the clandestine nature of their culture that makes the Bene Gesserits so very magical. And speaking of clandestine, how well do people in your world know the rules of magic? Because hard magic systems have rules, and D&D spells are the perfect example. If I wave my hands like this, and I use 2 dried butterfly wings, I'll create a cone of silence of 15 feet for 60 seconds, or whatever. It's like a foolproof cake recipe. Exactly the same every time. But what if your magic were less predictable? What if you weren't quite sure what could happen when you said the magic words? What if magic was more like making a wish, and the unknowable forces of magic, or perhaps your creepy warlock patron, could interpret it in any way it sees fit? This unpredictability means that every time a character casts a spell, they're not sure what's gonna happen. And that uncertainty makes casting spells feel more like risky occult experiments than successfully completed homework assignments. We have a whole video on unpredictable magic if you want to play more with this one. Another way to make low magic feel more magical is by spicing up your costs and limitations. Fairy tale and fae magic feels so unique and special because the costs and limitations are not normal. In the Untermarkt of A Market in Dreams and Destiny, you could buy a new destiny for the cost of your heart's desire. These elements feel otherworldly and intangible, and they make the magic feel more, well, magical. All while still being clear enough for the reader to understand. I've talked about costs and limitations before in my Triangle of Power video, but adding fresh flavour and whimsy to your costs and limitations refreshes even the most mundane of magic. And while we're on the subject of costs and limitations, don't forget about your magic's consequences. That is, its knock-on effects for the rest of your world. I call this the if this then what technique. For example, how does magic affect the economy, your ecology, and the natural world? Does magic require physical resources? How are those gathered and refined? Is magic controlled? How often might it appear in everyday life? Is that different in different cultures? Take some time to map out the ripple effects of magic in the different aspects of your world. The whiteboard tool on World Anvil can be a great way to quickly create a mind map and help you visualize the consequences of magic existing in your setting. We've talked a lot about spicing up low magic, but if you want your world building to feel fantastical, you don't just have to rely on magic. Avatar: The Last Airbender uses amazing chimeras, like the turtle duck and the ostrich horse, to make the world feel fantastical with non-magical biological creatures. And even though a flying sky bison probably isn't using the natural laws of aerodynamics, no offense Appa, a winged lemur can. 10-foot mushroom forests, semi-sapient animals, crystal shining bees, and singing fish can all feel magical without having any actual magic involved. Get weirder with your natural world building and you'll create a sense of wonder, no magic necessary. And of course, you don't just have to focus on what's true in your world. You can focus on what might be. Because we are storytelling apes, and probably so are our characters. The rarer the magic, the more likely there is to be wild misinformation about it. And that's fun to play with. Here's one way of doing it. Turn your main character into an audience surrogate, feed them a bunch of legends, and let them slowly figure out the myth from the magic. And as a bonus, you get to weave a bunch of mythopoeia, that is, in-world myths, which is always fun. And we have a whole guide on how to come up with myths of your world, so stick around and check it out next. I'd love to hear your favourite ways to make a low magic setting a more enchanting place, so drop a comment on how you like to do that, without just piling on the magic. And if you've enjoyed this, please subscribe so you see us again, throw us a like, then grab your hammer, and go world build.